In this tutorial, I'm going to give you a load of different techniques for creating leads and melodic accompaniment to go with a number of very different hip-hop grooves. So let's start off with our first groove then, which is this nice, simple, kind of subby bass line. It's a lot of long, sustained, repeating notes, and it's sticking to the same note, which makes it easier to work out what key we're in. Often you can tell what key you're in from the sample name, but if you can't, one way is to play different notes, like on this MIDI track here, where I've got a very simple instrument, it's just an organ sound. I like to create melodies and leads with fairly basic sounding instruments, so once you've got the notes sounding good with that, you can then improve the sound with a good preset. So here I've got a very basic organ sound. So I can hear that that's in E, as it sits much better with my bass line than the other notes. If you can't hear that, if your ear isn't quite trained enough at this stage, then I will show a technique for working out the key a bass line is in the next groove. For now though, as we've worked out the key, I'm just going to zoom in a bit. So we've got about an octave range here. And first of all, we'll get our rhythm right, and we'll just stick to E initially. So the rhythm I thought could be good is a sort of cross rhythm. So I'll just turn this off for a minute. It's created by adding semi-quaver notes here. So here's the beat to the bar, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to skip the second semi-quaver. And we've got a pair of notes, and then I'll skip the next one. We'll do 2 more. And we'll keep going like that across the whole 1-bar phrase. The reason this is a cross rhythm is you can see we've got this kind of repeating pattern here, but it lands on different positions each beat. So sometimes it's halfway through the beat, sometimes it's on the second semi-quaver here, the first swing note, sometimes it aligns with the beat, and so on. So if we have a listen to that. It's cool, but as you can hear, when it repeats, we get kind of an obvious looping sound. So it's nice to carry this rhythm on for a bit longer. We do that just by duplicating the loop out. And then I'm just going to drag these notes back. So we're now carrying on our pattern through the full 2 bars. Next thing, we might like to make it a bit more interesting by adding some different notes. And it could be cool to have a kind of arpeggiated style effect where it bounces up and down through notes that form either intervals or chords. So if you've taken my Beginner's Guide to Theory course, you'll know a very common note in bass lines and melodies is the 5th degree, or dominant. And a quick tip for just finding that easily from your tonic note, from the key that you're in, is just to go up by 7 semitones. And that's black and white notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we get to the B. So we're looking at E and B. So I'm just going to select all these other notes here and then take them up to the B. Sounding okay? To make it even more varied though, what I'm going to do is take every other E up an octave. So we're now going up and down, which again is going to add even more variation. Okay, that's sounding nice. But if we want to take it up another level, what we could have is this same motif, but repeating with a slightly different chord. So let's say for this first one, maybe we want to have it on a more interesting interval at the top. So let's try the 7th. It's nice to add 7th kind of jazzier intervals. So if we come down to the 7th, which is either going to be this note here or the one below. You can always try the other one, see how that sounds. Doesn't sound quite right, but the minor 7. It's sounding good. So we just duplicate that once again. And again, I'm going to drag the notes back. So we're just repeating our pattern up and down. And then for the last two bars, I'm just going to take this upper note up to the E. So now we've got a kind of 7th chord here, resolving to our straight 1-5 pattern at the end. And then I just need to add these missing notes we've got here. So I've got a pair of notes there. Let me just add another pair there, the gap in between, and then drag them up to the correct notes. So there's our full pattern. Let's have a listen to that. Cool. If we wanted to go even further and sort of make that harmony even more complex, what we could try is, instead of having a 7th here, we could have a 9th instead. Again, if you don't know what that is, then there's 8 notes in the scale. 1 and 8 are the tonic. They're both the key you're in. So we've got E and E here. 7 is the note below. So the 9 is the note above. So I'm just going to select all these upper notes and then drag them up. So here's our E. So we go up to the next note. Now it's not a semitone above because you rarely get a 2nd degree in a scale, which is 1 semitone above the tonic. You have to take my theory course for an explanation of why that is. But so I know I'm going to leave an extra semitone there and start on the F sharp. And then let's hear that, how that sounds. We're resolving to a major 3rd here, which we're not going to want, as we want the sound to stay edgy. So we're going to want that to be a minor 3rd. Remember, going from the major to minor is always just going down a semitone. So we just bring it down a semitone. That's quite nice. We could also actually just repeat the whole pattern rather than continue the rhythm. I quite like that. I think I prefer it to keeping the cross rhythm going the whole time. And then, yeah, once we've got our notes sounding good, sounding the way we want them, and we can just drag our MIDI clip to a MIDI track with a cool sounding synth preset on. In this case, I've got Loop Cloud Play. Yeah, nice. To watch the next 2 parts of this week's exclusive member tutorial series, just click Become a Member on the Producertech.com website and sign up for the free 14-day trial.